So what we are going to look at is we're going to start looking at Buddhism, okay, and Buddhist practices. And to do that, I've uploaded the scanned copy of the textbook. It's into files. It's Buddhism. It's low res. It takes a little bit of time, as you can see, for us to get to the right page. Fingers crossed. What I want to do is just talk through the different chapters of the book to clarify a few things and just to make sure that you know exactly what you are meant to be doing. So that's still the beliefs and teachings as we go through Buddhism. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to be looking at is it's going to be places of worship when it comes to Buddhism. So what you've already looked at are Buddhist beliefs. You've looked at, what do Buddhists believe? Anatta, Anaka. You've looked at dukkha, the idea that you looked at impermanence, no self. You've looked at the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths. All of those things, we still need to clearly know and understand, but it's how they express those things, in the practices, in the things that they do. Now, if we're in the classroom, I will be showing you a few videos of different types of temples. And what I would encourage you to do is go to my YouTube channel and look at GCC Buddhism in the menu on the left. And on there, I have got countless videos about Buddhism, about their practices, the things they do. And there's some examples there, different examples of Buddhist temples. Just to give you an idea, there are some spectacular temples out there in the world. They're absolutely phenomenal. They almost look like Hollywood movie sets, some of them. They're absolutely brilliant, and I would love to visit them. So you can have that on one extreme, and then on the other extreme, it can just be a local hall. So one of the Buddhist temples that I went to when I was living in Bristol, you wouldn't know it was a temple. You wouldn't know it was a place of Buddhist worship. It just looked like an ordinary building. So you can have from one extreme to the other, a Hollywood movie set to just another normal hall. Okay, but there are some commonalities. Okay, if it's big enough for them, there's going to be a main hall where they can practice together. Meditation hall or building, a study hall, shrine, and we'll talk about difference between a shrine and a temple, and a pagoda or stupa, which is a tiered tower or mound-like structure, sometimes used to contain holy relics. Now, a relic is seen as something that is associated to the religion. Christianity have their relics, Buddhism have their own relics, and they're items which are seen as really spiritual significance. Okay, so now Buddhists, bear in mind, Buddhists don't really believe in God. A lot of people say it's not religion. Why do they need a place of worship? What are they actually worshipping? It's really a place where they can come together as a community and do things together as a community, and this is really important. We have this in all walks of life, So, Christians do it. Church is actually, the word church means a group of Christians. It's not the building itself. The building is just where the church meets. And you have it whether you're involved in sports, football, or whether you are involved in online gaming or netball, whatever it is, you will have an opportunity to come together as a community to talk about the things that you have in common, the beliefs that you have in common, the things that you do that you have in common. And essentially that is what the temple is for. It's to be able to allow the community to come together. It enriches the community and it enables them to have a greater sense of ownership and belonging. They're meeting as they go through their daily life. They go into the office, they go to the school, whatever it is that they do, they might be the only Buddhist that they know. So to come together with other Buddhists and practice their religious life is really important for them, important for everybody, really. So now at these places, so they can study more about Buddhism. Very often there'll be places where they can go and meditate because, when you actually go into a place, it's something easier to do what you need to do in a different place other than your home. So even stuff like exercise, sometimes some people, not everybody, finds it actually easier to do exercise to get out of the house and do exercise somewhere else, which is specifically set up for exercise. Gyms are set up. Um, so it is a place to actually come together and to study and to meditate and practice together, learn from each other. You know, you're picking up tips from what other people have done, and other people have got their life stories, and you can learn how to move forward on your Buddhist in your Buddhist life when you're with other Buddhists. So all of that, it kind of like makes sense. And at the temple, you might have there's a monastery attached to it, where you'll have the monastic community, the monks and the nuns who are there, who can actually lead the meditation and teaching as well. Now, shrine is an area, it can be within a temple. And you can have a shrine in your house, in which there is normally a statue of the Buddha in a meditation pose. There's lots of different types of poses that you can be in. The famous laughing Buddha. I know in one of the previous topics that we looked at, when we were looking at his ascetic lifestyle, there are statues of the Buddha where you see his skeleton and his backbone through his stomach. And so, but they will have a shrine, they will have a statue there of the Buddha. In Mahayana Buddhism, it might be a bodhisattva. So you can have a shrine in a temple. There will always be a shrine in the temple, but you can have one in your home as well. And it provides a focal point. It provides a reminder of the things that you believe in. It enables you to meditate. It enables you to practice your faith, your philosophy of life when it comes to Buddhism. And Buddhists, some Buddhists, not all, but they will make offerings at the shrine as a way of paying respect to the Buddha and expressing gratitude. That's more Mahayana teaching than it is Theravada teaching. Because remember, in Theravada teaching, the Buddha himself said, don't worship me. Don't do the things I'm doing simply because of who I am. You know, try out the teachings for themselves and see if they work. So in Mahayana tradition, they will do the offering. So you have an offering of light, a candle, and the light is a symbolic in nearly all religions, and it very often symbolizes the same thing, you know, wisdom, knowledge. You know, you've got light driving away ignorance, all that kind of stuff. You have offering of flowers. It's a reminder of anicca, which is impermanence. You know, things change. We have to accept that. Offering incense symbolizing purity, representing pure thoughts and so on. So, a quote there from a Tibetan Buddhist monk: the time and effort required to keep the shrine clean and replenished with flowers and other offerings is considered a skillful activity to focus one's mind in the spiritual practices. So meditation isn't just about sitting down cross-legged and going you know, the way people often see. It can actually be you working as well, and cleaning the shrine enables Buddhists to really focus on what they're doing and focus on their practices, their spiritual practices. So, you know, there's a difference between a temple and a shrine, and then a monastery, which is called a vihara. It's a building where you'll have monks and nuns, where people who have committed either their whole life, it doesn't have to be like, be part of their life, to being a monk, where they have removed themselves from society and they are dedicating more of their time and life to meditation and specific Buddhist practices. Now, it will vary from monastery to monastery. Some monks will totally withdraw from society. Other monks will still be involved in society, in education, in looking after people. But then they'll withdraw back to the monastery and they will focus more on their spiritual practices. So that'll vary from monastery to monastery. But it really is, they will be living a very simple lifestyle. They will have their practices. Their last meal of the day will be lunchtime, and that food that will be given to them is food given to them by the community. And whatever the community gives, that's what they eat. And then that's it. They don't eat anything else until the following day. And then they're meant to be meditating, focusing on the teachings and cleaning the monastery, which is part of their meditative practice. Now, within the monastery, you often find a stupa, which is can be a kind of type of building where they will keep a relic. Now, traditionally, this was where they were kept the Buddha's remains and the ashes. But today, it might contain other holy relics, so that maybe the remains of other monks or nuns or items just associated with important Buddhists. But there was an emperor called Ashoka, who when he became a Buddhist, he took the Buddha's remains and he basically divvied them out, and and there were thousands and thousands of these stupas which had very little bit of the ashes of the original Buddha. And so you can imagine for a lot of Buddhists then to go and visit this stupa is really important to them. It's almost like a physical connection, reminder of their spiritual practice. Okay, so there we have really places of worship where, starting off with the temple, which is normally a larger structure where the community come together. The shrine normally is in the temple. You can have a shrine at home as well. Sometimes with the temple, but not always, you will have a monastery where the monks will be living, those people have dedicated part of their life, or all of their life, to spiritual practices. And then you will have a stupa where you have the relics are either the Buddha or of other famous Buddhists, monks and nuns. So they're the four main key areas. Okay, so you've got the questions, activities there. On the side, explain why temples are important for Buddhists, explain the purpose of a Buddhist shrine. Imagine you've been asked to create a leaflet to attract people to go to a Buddhist temple that has just been built in your community. What I want you to do for that one, I want you to go into YouTube, go on my channel, find a couple of videos that I've put in there about different types of Buddhist temples for you to give an idea of what they look like. I know there's a walkthrough one of a Buddhist temple that's in LA, where they tried to recreate the style of Asia. But once you look at that, look at on YouTube about some other Buddhist temples to give you an idea of what they can look like, and then just design a leaflet that provides information about what happens, the types of activities that take place in a Buddhist temple, okay, and try and explain why they might want to visit. So you should end up with an information sheet, and as we go through, obviously you've got the key terms here in red. So as we go through this, I want to write a key term, the definition, your little flashcards, but one key term for one flashcard. So you have temple on one side, definition on the other side, and then you use another flashcard for a gompa, a hall or building where Tibetans Buddhists meditate. That'll be on the other side. Okay, right.